Han Jae stood at the edge of the wide classroom and tried not to show his fear. The room was not like any classroom on Earth. The floor was smooth and silver, warm under his shoes. The walls were clear like glass, but beyond them was not sky or ground. It was space. Stars drifted slowly, and a pale blue planet turned far away. Light came from thin lines in the ceiling, soft but bright, and the air felt clean and light. Almost sweet. Han Jae was human. That alone made him different here. He was 16 years old, slim, with short black hair and dark eyes that moved carefully from place to place. He wore the standard academy uniform, but it fit him a little wrong. The fabric was made for bodies that were not quite human. He had already adjusted the sleeves twice. Behind him, the door closed with a quiet sound. In front of him sat the students of Class 07. They were all girls. They were also all aliens. Some looked almost human, with small differences in skin color or eyes that shone too brightly. Others were clearly not human at all. One had faint lines of light moving under her skin. Another had hair that floated as if underwater. One sat very still, her eyes sharp and crystal clear, her posture perfect. They all looked at him. The silence grew long. Han Jae bowed, the way he'd been taught back on Earth. "My name is Han Jae," he said. His voice was steady, even though his chest felt tight. "I am from Earth. I will be studying here from today." No one answered right away. A tall woman stood near the front of the room. She was the instructor. Her name was Instructor Hay, and she was from a species known for calm thought and strict order. Her face was smooth and pale, her eyes silver. "This is correct," Instructor Hay said at last. "Due to an exchange program, Han Jae will join this class." A low sound passed through the room. It was not quite talking, not quite laughter. Curiosity mixed with doubt. One of the girls leaned forward. She had short blue hair and strong shoulders. Her eyes were sharp. "A human?" she said. "In this class?" Instructor Hay looked at her. "Bora, your question has been heard." Bora crossed her arms. "Humans are from a low-level system. Their technology is behind. Their bodies are weak." Several girls nodded. Han Jae felt his ears grow warm, but he did not speak. Another girl tilted her head. She looked almost human, but her eyes glowed softly, like stars behind clouds. "That may be true," she said gently. "But he looks calm." Her name was Nari. A third girl did not speak at all. She simply watched Han Jae with great focus. Her name was Era. Her skin was pale gray, and thin lines like glass patterns moved across her cheeks. She was known as the top student in the class. Instructor Hay raised one hand. The room grew quiet. "Han Jae's placement here was not planned," she said, "but it will remain. He will sit in the open seat." A chair near the center of the room slid back on its own. Han Jae walked toward it. Every step felt heavy, as if the eyes in the room were pressing down on him. He sat carefully and placed his hands on the desk. The desk reacted to his touch. Symbols appeared in the air, bright and moving. He froze. The symbols were not in any language he knew. Several girls noticed. Bora gave a short laugh. "He cannot even read the interface." Han Jae took a slow breath. He reached out again, touching the side of the desk. The symbols changed slightly. He did not panic. Instead, he watched. He noticed patterns. Colors changed when his hand moved faster. Shapes reacted when he paused. He began to learn. Instructor Hay observed him closely, but said nothing. The lesson began. The class was studying spatial movement theory, a subject humans did not formally learn at Jay's level. Images of ships and energy paths filled the air. The instructor explained calmly. Her voice clear. Han Jae understood only part of it, but he listened. He wrote notes by hand on a thin pad he had brought from Earth. The motion was simple, familiar. It helped him think. Ira noticed this. She leaned slightly toward Nari. Why does he write on a physical surface? She asked. Nari smiled. Maybe it helps him focus. Ira said nothing more, but her eyes stayed on Jay. When the lesson ended, Instructor Hay gave a short task. The students had to adjust a simulated energy route to avoid system failure. The girls moved quickly. Their desks glowed as they worked. Hanjay stared at the symbols again. He was slower. A warning light appeared on his desk. He had made a mistake. Bora noticed and shook her head. This is a waste of time. Hanjay felt the pressure return, but he did not stop. He remembered his training on Earth. When you do not understand the system, understand the goal. He focused on the warning. Energy loss. Too much stress in one path. He adjusted the route not to be perfect, but to spread the load. The warning light faded. His solution was not the fastest. It was not elegant, but it worked. Era's eyes narrowed slightly. When the bell sound echoed through the room, the task ended. Instructor Hay looked at the results. Interesting, she said. Bora frowned. What is interesting? The human student completed the task, Instructor Hay replied. Not with standard logic, but with stable outcome. The room grew quiet again. Hanjay lowered his head slightly, unsure how to react. Class L7 did not welcome him, but they could no longer ignore him. As the students stood and prepared to leave, Nari walked past Hanjay and gave him a small smile. Welcome, she said softly. Era paused for a moment as well. She looked at him closely, as if seeing him for the first time. Hanjay met her gaze. He did not smile. He did not look away. And in that moment, something small but important changed. Hanjay learned quickly that being noticed was not the same as being accepted. The days after his arrival passed in a strange mix of silence and watching eyes. Class L7 did not speak to him much. They did not insult him either. They simply treated him like an object placed in the wrong room. Hanjay sat, listened, and learned. The academy schedule was strict. Each day was filled with lessons, training, and tests. Some were mental. Some were physical. Some mixed both in ways Hanjay had never seen before. During theory lessons, he struggled with speed. The information moved fast, and much of it assumed knowledge humans did not have. Still, he paid attention. He asked no questions. Instead, he wrote notes in his own words, breaking ideas into simple steps. Era noticed this again. She watched how he always rewrote the lesson, not copying, but changing it. To her, it looked inefficient, yet his scores did not fail. During physical training, the gap was clearer. The training hall was large and open, with moving platforms and shifting gravity. The girls moved with ease. Some leaped across gaps. Others ran along walls or floated through the air. Hanjay struggled. His muscles were not as strong. His balance was not perfect. He fell more than once. Bora laughed the first time. Be careful, human, she said. This is not a playground. Hanjay stood up, brushed his uniform clean, and nodded. Thank you. That answer surprised her. He did not argue. He did not look angry. He simply kept going. By the end of the session, his body ached. His breathing was rough. Still, he completed every required movement, even if he was the slowest. Instructor Hay watched from above, her expression unreadable. Later that day, the class was given a group task. They were divided into teams of 3. By chance or design, Hanjay was placed with Nari, and Sora. Was quiet. Her skin had a soft shine, and her eyes reflected light like water. She spoke little, but she observed everything. Nari greeted Hanjay with a small wave. We will work together, she said. Hanjay bowed slightly. I will do my best. The task was simple in description, but difficult in action. They had to guide a small drone through a damaged section of the station in a simulation. The drone's systems were unstable. One wrong move would cause failure. Nari took control first. Her movements were smooth, but the drone reacted badly to sudden changes. A warning flashed. SOR adjusted the energy flow, but the system shook. They paused. Hanjay leaned closer to the display. "May I suggest something?" he asked. Nari nodded. "Yes, we do not need to go fast," Hanjay said. "If the system is weak, we should let it rest between actions." Nari blinked. "That will increase time." "Yes," Hanjay replied. "But it will reduce stress." They tried it. The drone moved slowly. It paused often. It passed through the damaged area without failure. Their score was not high in speed, but it was perfect in stability. When Instructor Hay reviewed the results, she looked at their team longer than the others. "That approach is unusual," she said. Hanjay lowered his head. "I am sorry if it was incorrect." "It was not incorrect," Instructor Hay replied. "It was human." The word echoed softly in the room. That evening, the class was sent to a zero-gravity training chamber. The goal was simple: survive and reach the exit point. The chamber activated without warning. Gravity vanished. Students floated in every direction. Some moved with ease, adjusting their bodies instinctively. Others pushed off walls or used small thrusters. Hanjay spun out of control. He grabbed it empty. Air and mist. Panic rose in his chest. Then he forced himself to stop. "Do not fight it," he thought. Controlled breathing first. He slowed his movements. He reached the wall and pushed gently. Nearby, an alarm sounded. SOR. Her movement pack had failed. She drifted toward a spinning piece of debris. Other students hesitated. Standard protocol warned against manual contact in zero-gravity failure zones. Hanjay did not think of protocol. He kicked off the wall and aimed himself carefully. The timing was wrong. He missed once. He adjusted. This time he caught Sora's arm. The impact hurt, but he held on. They spun together. Hanjay wrapped one arm around a support bar and stopped their motion. The alarm faded. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then Instructor Hay's voice filled the space. Training paused. Students looked at Hanjay and Sora. Bora stared, her mouth slightly open. Nari floated closer, eyes wide. "You ignored safety law," she said. Hanjay nodded. "Yes, that law exists to protect you." "I know," he replied. But she needed help now. Sora looked at him. Her voice was quiet. "You chose risk." "Yes," Hanjay said simply. Instructor Hay watched him for a long time. "Humans," she said at last, "often survive by breaking rules at the right moment." No one laughed. When gravity returned, Sora bowed deeply to Hanjay. "Thank you." Hanjay bowed back. Awkward but sincere. From that day on, the looks changed. They were still cautious. But now, they were mixed with something else. Respect. The change did not happen all at once, but Hanjay could feel it. People no longer looked through him as if he were empty space. Now, when he entered the room, some eyes followed him. Not with doubt alone, but with thought. He still sat in the same seat. He still spoke little, but the space around him felt different. During lessons, questions began to come. Nari asked him once why he always planned for mistakes. Hanjay thought for a moment before answering. "Because mistakes always come," he said. "If I wait for them, I am already late." Nari nodded slowly, as if storing the idea. Era listened from across the room. The next major task arrived sooner than expected. Instructor Hay announced it with calm seriousness. "The next evaluation will be a strategic simulation," she said. You will work in larger groups. This test will measure planning, cooperation, and response to failure. Groups of 5 were formed. This time, Hanjae was placed with Era, Bora, Nare, and Sora. The room grew quiet. Bora spoke first. This group has too many differences. Era looked at the display. Differences can be useful. She glanced at Hanjae. If used correctly. Hanjae bowed his head slightly. I will follow instructions. Era shook her head. No, you will contribute. The simulation began. A colony station appeared around them, projected in full detail. Warning lights flashed. A hostile force approached from the edge of space. The enemy is stronger than expected, the system announced. Victory by force is unlikely. Bora smiled. Then we fight harder. Hanjae spoke quietly. That will not work. Bora turned to him sharply. Explain. They expect strength, Hanjae said. We should give them confusion. Era's eyes focused. Go on. Hanjae moved closer to the central display. We divide our resources. Not to attack, but to delay. We prepare paths to retreat, not one, but many. That looks like surrender, Bora said. No, Hanjae replied. It is survival. Era studied the numbers. If we do this, we lose ground. But we gain time, Hanjae said. Time lets mistakes happen on their side. Silence. Then Era nodded. We will try the human plan. Bora clenched her fists, but said nothing. The simulation played out. Their forces pulled back instead of charging. Traps were set, not to destroy, but to slow. Paths were left open on purpose. The enemy advanced confidently. Then errors began. Supply lines stretched too far. Communication failed. Units collided with each other. Bora stared at the screen. They are falling apart. Because they did not plan to fail, Hanjae said. When the simulation ended, the result surprised everyone. Victory. Not clean. Not proud. But complete. Instructor Hay looked at the final report. This strategy violates 3 standard doctrines, she said. Yes. Era replied calmly. And yet it succeeded. The instructor continued. She turned to Hanjae. Explain the core idea. Hanjae swallowed. Humans assume things will go wrong. We build paths to survive that. The room was quiet. After class, Bora stopped him in the hall. You are not strong, she said bluntly. Hanjae nodded. I know. But you do not break, she continued. I learned not to, he replied. She studied him for a long moment. Train with me tomorrow. Hanjae bowed. If you wish. The next day, they met in the physical training hall. Bora pushed him hard. She tested his limits again and again. Strength, speed, balance. Hanjae lost every contest, but he did not stop, even when his hands shook. He continued. Bora noticed his breathing. Slow, controlled. You last longer than expected, she said. Hanjae smiled faintly. Endurance matters. She said nothing more. Later that week, Era approached him alone. Your thinking does not follow optimal logic, she said. Hanjae waited. But it increases survival probability, she continued. I wish to study it. He looked surprised. Study me? No, Era corrected. Study with you. That night, Hanjae sat in his room and looked out at the stars. He thought of Earth, of gravity, of limits. He thought of how small humans were in this wide universe. And yet, for the first time since arriving, he felt something close to belonging, not because he was the same, but because he was needed. The warning came during a normal lesson. At first, it sounded like a system test. A soft tone passed through the classroom, gentle and slow. No one reacted. Instructor Hay continued speaking. Then the tone changed. It grew sharp. Red light filled the room. All displays froze, then shifted to a single message. Structural failure detected. The walls trembled. Not enough to throw anyone down, but enough to be felt in the bones. Instructor Hay stopped speaking. "This is not a drill," she said calmly. "Remain in place until further instruction." The girls looked at each other. Some were tense. Some were confused. Hanjay felt his heart beat faster, but his mind grew clear. Another shake passed through the station. A voice came over the system, broken and delayed. Multiple systems offline. Command response delayed. Bora frowned. Delayed? Era checked her desk. Central control is not responding. A loud sound echoed from somewhere far away, deep and heavy. Ora held onto her desk. That was external impact. Instructor Hay's eyes narrowed slightly. "We will move." The door opened. The hallway outside was filled with flashing lights and fast-moving students. Some ran, some froze. Instructor Hay raised her voice. "Class L7, follow me." They moved together. As they turned a corner, the floor tilted. Gravity shifted. Several students cried out. Hanjay grabbed the wall and stayed upright. He reached out and caught Nari's arm. "Slow steps," he said. "One at a time." She nodded and followed his pace. Smoke filled the air ahead. Instructor Hay stopped suddenly. A section of the corridor was gone. Metal had folded inward. Sparks fell like rain. Era scanned the damage. "This path is unusable." Bora looked around. "Where is command?" Instructor Hay tried her communicator. No response. For the first time, she hesitated. Hanjay noticed. He stepped forward slightly. "Instructor," he said carefully. "May I speak?" She looked at him. "We need to move people away from main paths," Hanjay continued. "If systems failed here, more will follow standard routes." Era's eyes widened. "Crowd collapse risk." Instructor Hay nodded once. "Agreed." She turned to the class. "We will change route. Follow Hanjay's directions." Bora stared at her. "You are placing a human in command?" "I am placing the clearest mind in command," Instructor Hay replied. The words hit the group like a shock. Hanjay swallowed. "Please listen," he said. His voice was not loud, but it was steady. "We move in small groups. Stay close to walls. Avoid open spaces." They obeyed. As they moved, another tremor struck. Lights went out. Darkness filled the corridor. Emergency strips lit the floor in faint blue. A scream echoed from behind. A student from another class had fallen when gravity shifted again. She was trapped under debris. People froze. Protocols warned against stopping. Hanjay stopped anyway. "Bora, help me lift," he said. She did not argue. She moved. Together, they lifted the metal just enough. Era stabilized the field. Nari pulled the student free. The station shook harder. "We must move," Era said. Hanjay nodded. Now, they reached a junction where paths split in 3 directions. The signs were dark. Era checked her data. No signal. Everyone looked at Hanjay. He closed his eyes for a second. "Air is flowing that way," he said, pointing left. "Life support is still active there. How do you know?" Nari asked. "I can feel it," he replied. Small things move. They followed. The path led to a maintenance sector. It was not meant for students. Panels were open. Cables hung loose. Another impact hit. A support beam cracked. Instructor Hay was thrown to the side. Hanjay reached her first. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "I am functional." But her leg shook slightly. A loud alarm began to sound. Core instability rising. Era's voice was tight. "If the core fails, this section will be lost." Hanjay looked at the open panels. "Manual override?" Era hesitated. "It is possible." but dangerous. I will do it, Han-jae said. Bora grabbed his arm. You will die. He met her eyes. Maybe, but if no one does it, many will. Silence. Instructor Hay nodded once. Proceed. Han-jae crawled into the narrow space. Heat pressed against him. The noise was loud, deep, constant. He remembered old machines on Earth. Broken. Things held together by care and effort. He found the lever. It was not made for human hands. He used both arms. Pain shot through his shoulders. He pulled. The noise changed. The shaking slowed. Alarms faded one by one. Han-jae collapsed. Forward. Bora pulled him back. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the lights returned. A calm voice filled the hall. Stability restored. Han-jae lay on the floor, breathing hard. Nari knelt beside him. You did it? Era looked down at him, her expression unreadable. You chose action without certainty. Han-jae smiled weakly. That is normal for us. Instructor Hay stood straight despite the damage around them. Today, she said, you did not follow a human. She looked at the class. You followed a leader. Han-jae woke to silence. Not the empty silence of space, but a calm one. Machines hummed softly. Light was steady. The station no longer shook. He lay on a medical bed. The surface was warm. His body felt heavy, like he had run for a long time, and only just stopped. He tried to move his arm. Pain answered. He stopped. A soft sound came from nearby. You are awake. Han-jae turned his head slowly. Era stood beside the bed. She looked different here. Without the classroom lights and displays, she seemed quieter, almost gentle. The glowing lines on her skin moved slowly. How long? Han-jae asked. 6 hours, Era replied. Your muscles were damaged. Not permanently. Han-jae let out a slow breath. That is good. Era watched him closely. You risked yourself with incomplete data. Yes, he said. That choice saved 112 lives, she continued. Including mine. Han-jae did not know what to say. I only did what I could. Era tilted her head. That answer is very human. Footsteps approached. Nari entered first, followed by Sora. Bora came last. Nari smiled the moment she saw his eyes open. You scared us. Han-jae felt embarrassed. I am sorry. Sora bowed deeply, lower than before. If you had not acted, I would not be standing here. Han-jae tried to sit up. Bora stepped forward and gently pushed him back. Do not move, she said. Her voice was firm, but her hands were careful. That is in order, she added. Han-jae obeyed. Bora crossed her arms, then slowly uncrossed them again. You are weak, she said. Han-jae nodded. Yes, you are slow, she continued. Yes, you break easily. Yes. Bora looked away for a moment. When she looked back, her eyes were steady. But when it mattered, you stood. Han-jae felt something tighten in his chest. Instructor Hay entered the room. The others stepped aside. She looked at Han-jae, then bowed. It was not deep, but it was clear. In my years at this academy, she said, I have seen many kinds of strength. She raised her head. Today, you showed the kind that changes outcomes. Han-jae did not know how to respond. Instructor Hay continued. The council has reviewed the incident. Era's eyes widened slightly. Their conclusion, the instructor said, is that Han-jae will remain in Class L7, not as an exception. She paused, but as a standard. The word hung in the air. Nar, I let out a small sound of surprise. Bora smiled. It was sharp and proud. Days passed. Han-jae returned to class slowly. His movements were careful. His body still healed. Something else had changed. A seat was added beside his dot era moved there. During lessons, students waited when he spoke. When plans were made, they asked his view, not because he was human, but because his way of thinking worked. During one lesson, Instructor Hay presented a problem with no clear solution. Silence followed. Han Jae raised his hand. "We cannot win," he said simply. "So we should choose who survives." Some students looked uneasy. Instructor Hay nodded. "Continue." "We protect the most people possible," Han Jae said. "And we accept loss?" Era spoke next. "That acceptance is not failure. It is honesty." Bora added, "And it gives us something to fight for." The solution passed. Later, as the class ended, Nari walked beside Han Jae. "Humans are strange," she said. He smiled slightly. "We know." "They expected you to fail," she continued. "So did I. And now?" He asked. She looked at him. "Now I think the universe underestimated you." Han. Jay stopped near the window at the end of the hall. Space stretched wide and endless. Beyond the glass, he placed one hand against it. He thought of Earth, small, fragile, yet still alive. Joined him. "Your species should not exist," she said quietly. Han Jae did not take offense. "We hear that often. And yet," she continued, "you do." She looked at him. "That is why you matter." Han Jae looked back at the stars. He was still afraid. He was still small. But he was no longer alone. In a class once meant only for alien girls. A human boy had taken his place. Not by power, not by pride, but by choosing to stand when the universe expected him to fall.